All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wildcat Week episode 6, right? Yep,
Yeah,
episode 6. Yeah, episode 6,
Yeah.
almost at lucky number 10.
Yeah.
Owen had talked to me maybe about dressing up on like the 10th
We could do like a
one.
funny, who knows? We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk
We'll
about it.
figure that out. That's weeks away. Anyway,
Also, I'm wearing a different shirt. Shout out to myself. I noticed it. I was wearing the same blue shirt for every single episode for intro and outro sections because we filmed the interview later or earlier. So
Owen
I don't have a very wide closet selection of shirts, and the shirt I wore was always like a shirt that was like, all right, if I'm out of shirts, like I'll just put this one on. Yeah. So, and now I'm also out of shirts, and therefore I'm wearing a cotton conference champ t-shirt. Aww. But it's a different shirt, so I've never worn this one before. So let's go.
Okay. But yeah, so on today, I have to introduce what we're doing.
Oh yeah, you're right.
We'll have our regular schedule. So we'll do our rundown. Then we have an interview coming up with a couple athletes. You'll be able to see them later in the episode, and then we'll obviously end up with our preview upcoming events that will happen here. So without further ado, we'll roll into the intro video, and Owen will take it away with some of the sports that he is covering.
Yep.
On the carry, Shoemaker through the hole, Shoemaker to the end zone. Wildcats are pouring it on.
Hastings across to the middle. Goal! Goal! That's the game! Wildcats win it!
You're listening to Wildcat Week, presented by Amplify Media.
All right, so baseball. First off, they started. They are currently 4-9. So I mean, not in the best, way. They're struggling a bit, to say the least.
Yeah, I actually I went to. So I actually did the play-by-play for the doubleheader they had against Cleary. And the first game we smoked them.
Yeah, second game we were getting no hit through the fourth inning, and then we finally got a home run.
Their pitcher was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, carry away.
All right. So last Friday, kind of talked about the first game against Faulkner University of Alabama. So they lost that first game 2-3, and that was all the news we had so far. But to give you a rundown of that 4-game set, they lost the first game 2-3, like I said, then won the second game 4-3. But then they took some close losses after that on Saturday's doubleheader, 4-8 and 3-4. And then Wednesday, like Donovan said, they played Cleary University in another doubleheader. They won the first game 17-8. Good showing from the offensive standpoint.
5 home runs for the Wildcats,
and 2 of them were by the left fielder,
and 2 of them were by the 4-hitter, 2 of them were by the 5-hitter.
Yeah. And then they took quite an L. They lost 11-2 in the second game. Cleary's pitcher had a no-hitter going through the 4th inning and then had given up a 2-run blast to left field to me and the boys. The offensive line went to watch that end of that game in the second inning. There. We had caught that ball, so that was pretty cool. But that was also the only runs that they scored that game, so kind of tough. And then today they started their their 4-game set. Weekend series against Spring Arbor University, and again they took another close loss, 1-2. It's a lot of close losses, so I mean I'm hoping the Wildcats can start to kind of go back to where they were last year, but they did take a couple losses when it came to losing guys at graduation. On to men's basketball. So like I said, men's basketball kicked Taylor's butt 84-66 in the Crossville East quarterfinals, and then it all kind of went to crap. The men's basketball team took kind of not a big L, but when you look at it in perspective, it was a big L. They lost 76-84 to Grace College. I mean, it struggled. I mean, I don't want to say, and I'm trying to figure out a way to say it in the nicest way, but I mean, it just was not good. Spencer Piercefield shot 6 for 13 from the field. He was 4 for 10 from 3. Seth Maxwell, our go-to guy, I mean, literally conference player of the year, 7 for 20. Yeah. He was 1 for 3 from the 3-point line, which is all right.
Well, Grace also did a good job against Seth at kind of not allowing him to get deep in the lane.
Yeah, I mean, and then our transfer, Dan Largy, number 23, 4 for 13. He was 1 for 6 from the arc.
Yeah, so, he was really cold, and then he got really hot at the end of the game.
So I mean, it was a tough day for the boys. But I'll kind of talk about what they're going on later. I mean, Grace didn't have like a decent game from like a specific guy, but they just had a all-around good game. They had, going from top to bottom, they had 12, 13, 11, 11, 9, 8, 6, 3, 2, 0. And that was a combined 84 points. And Donovan, they had a lot of rebounds. Actually, they out-rebounded us 28 to and then we had 8 offensive rebounds and 16 defensive rebounds for the Wildcats. So I mean, it was kind of, I mean, they out-rebounded us. So I mean, good for them. It was 28 to 24 rebound wise. So, but I mean, when you were 8 for 26 from the 3-point line, trying to compete against 6 from 19, which I know we had more 3 points made, but they also missed less 3-pointers than us.
Yep.
So I mean, it was just, I don't know. It was not the greatest of nights from both teams. But I mean, Grace had a better bad night.
Yeah, it was interesting watching it. I think, especially when you kind of get into the Crossroads League tournament, it's the time when schools, now granted, Grace will make the opening round, and they did. But it's the time of the year where the teams that know where they have no future in the NAIA, unless if they win now, then their season's over.
Yeah, teams like Grace.
You see a different intense. No, Grace made the opening round. Either way, Grace would have been fine. But that's where you do see teams bring a different type of intensity, and that's what Grace did. They brought a different type of intensity, and you just saw it kind of from about 5 minutes into the game.
I just don't think the Wildcats were ready. But on to tennis. So the men's tennis, like we had them on earlier, they're on their giant spring break trip that we talked about last episode. But to kind of go off to what they did last week, so we got the results from the Friday meets that weren't up. So they, against the University of Findlay, they won 4-0, clean sweep. The boys took an L. They lost to University of Northwestern Ohio. So I mean, it kind of a tough L. They lost 1-4. But they are the number 16 team in the country. And then they also lost to the number 22 team in the country, Cumberland University, 3-4. But then they came back and got back into the swing of things against William Carey and won 4-0. So, and now they're on that massive trip that I'll talk about later. And that's all that kind of happened with men's sports, Crossroads Leagues. We already talked about that. They came in third out of 10 teams. And I'll kind of get to what they're doing right now. But Donovan, touch on some of the other sports.
Yeah, so women's basketball, on the other hand. So if you remember from last episode, I was dressed up all nice. That's because I was going to call the Grace College versus the Wildcats, the ladies' game. And guess what? Our ladies won 60-44. So great job to Lays that game. We just kind of controlled kind of from the early tip, and you just kind of saw it from the beginning. We almost let them kind of come back in the fourth quarter, but then we did a good job fending them off. But here's the big news. So this has happened now 2 years in a row where the Wildcats lose to Marion
both times in
the regular season, and then beat them in the conference championship. This is now the second time we've done this against them. So Marion won the regular season, but then we win the Crossroads League tournament, and we won 66-63. And it is amazing how, looking at how we won this game. So we lost the first quarter by 4.
It was awesome.
We won the second quarter by 5, so we're up 1 going into halftime. We lose the third quarter 21-10, and win the fourth quarter 22-9.
Yeah.
Absolute swing.
It was sweet. And I mean, some of the girls had some like really stellar performances.
Yeah. So Kelly Damon, number 20, she had 23 points, 5 for 7 from the 3-point line. Absolutely was dialed in. You had Maddie Lawrence. She added 17 points, and she had the tough job of guarding Imani Guy, who's 6'3", and she got 17 points. She went 2 for 2 from the free throw line, 50% on her shots. Lily Frazier, who just won Crossroads League Freshman of the Year, she had 14 points, and she had 12 rebounds, so she got a double-double. And then you had Maddie Davis, who added 3 points. Jade Nutley added 5, and Joy Reed added 4 points. So great job. The ladies, they went 10 for 12 on their free throws. Their 3-point percentages, 44%. That's pretty good. And then their field goals, 44%. That could be a little bit better. But man, they absolutely crushed it. on their way into the tournament. And if you remember last year in the tournament, they went all the way to the Final Four. Hopefully they can see another run like that.
Yeah. Also, to add on
year.
to Kelly Damon, she got first team all conference, and our very own
right.
Jordan Reed got second team. So
yeah, and that's amazing that Jordan got second because she is a sixth man.
Yeah, she's sixth man. Yeah, so it's huge.
Absolutely huge.
Yeah, and then as you said about what's her name, about Lily Frazier getting the freshman of the year is huge, especially for a Wildcat. So.
Yeah, I mean, big news for her.
Yeah.
Got 3 more years left.
Yeah.
Maybe turn into the Kyle Mangus of the
who knows?
The women's
Who really
side,
knows? Yeah.
You know? But yeah, so now I'll move on to softball. They had a very packed week this past week. So Friday they played Bryan College and Reinhardt University. They won those games 7-4, 5-0. Saturday they had another doubleheader against Truett McConnell University and Evangel University. They lost against Truett McConnell 3-8, but then beat Evangel University 7-5. And then on Monday, they had a doubleheader against Oakland City University, where they won both those games 7-2, and the other one 14-1. So they're now 6-2. They're on a hot win streak right now of 3. And then other big news is that their player Danielle Munn, she was either the Crossroads Player of the Week or the Crossroads Pitcher of the Week.
Okay.
So outstanding job to her. They're gonna keep grinding away on this season so far, and maybe come on to this podcast. I don't know. It's their choice now. Fires have been shot, arrows have been shot.
Yeah.
Emails have been sent.
Come on. We want you on there.
It is your time. I talked to one of the players when they had an opening night at Troyer Fieldhouse. They knew I was going to email them. It is time. You appear on the podcast.
Donovan's mad. He's going to stand up.
I'm not going to stand up. Okay, we're not going to throw it back to class today. So, yeah, that's done with softball. And so then we move on to competitive cheer. And, what's the one song? All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Well, that's what they did.
All they do.
They had the Crossroads Conference Championship. What do they do? Win it. I'm going to look up the scores right now real quick. So they had a score of 88.4 points.
Wow.
Marion was second, 83.7. Bethel was third with 78.6 and drops off from there. So absolutely awesome. Let's see what the coach said. He said, "We worked hard this season and had so many setbacks and challenges despite the obstacles. This team unites and executes. So proud of what they've been able to put on the mat today and finish our season with an automatic bid to nationals."
Mm-hmm.
So that also notched into a top score that they've scored at an invite. So yeah, now they're going to go up to Ypsilanti, Michigan on March 11th and 12th, where they'll compete in nationals. But that's for the preview. So oopsie whoopsie.
Well, and then also women's swimming is going on right now. And they're at the NAIA National Tournament, and they have some really good finishes so far.
They did have one that was
one girl
All-American
came in
status.
third place, Erica Samuel for the 400 IM, and then a couple good other finishes, and then another fourth place finish from Olivia Cummins for the 100 backstroke. And that'll lead into today. So, and then I'll show you what they got going on when we do the rundown. So,
the preview.
But
I remember seeing this quickly on the Instagram, and it was a relay of 4 girls, and they got some All-American thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll probably look that up and report that later. And so then we're gonna move on to women's tennis. They have been also following around the guys, doing their thing. So University of Northwestern Ohio, they won 7-0, and they played Cumberland University in Tennessee. They won 4-0. And they played William Carey University in Mississippi yesterday and today, where they won 4-2. So they are still winning. They've only lost one time. That was at Grand Valley State University the entire season, all school year. They've only lost one meet. So without further ado, Owen, I think that's the end of it.
Yeah, let's get into this
interview.
interview.
So we're going to get into the interview. You guys are going to love this interview.
Yeah.
Time flew by fast, at least while we were interviewing them. So without further ado, we'll get straight into the interview. Owen, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Luke, come on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the interview portion of Wildcat Week. So you guys can see him right now. We're only running one camera, so you can't see my face. You might
can
be
see
able
me.
to see Owen's a little bit. So yeah, shout out his parents. So yeah, 2 players from the football team. So senior Luke Watson and freshman Tyler Tristan Hayes. Wow.
I was going to let Donovan do with that. I was going to let him see. I know Tristan's name. He's my friend.
Wow. That was
also, you have to
rough.
mention Luke isn't just a senior.
Super
Luke is
senior.
he is a
I'm
super
so glad you
senior.
brought that
He
up.
has reached
Old
5th
man.
year level. He is not just old, but he is old.
Hey, I left the walker outside the door. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying about that.
You couldn't even grow facial hair when you came here.
I really couldn't.
Yeah,
but, you know,
think
it's
about
changed
it
a lot.
now.
I barely
Yeah.
can grow real hair. Now look at me now, you know?
I know you came in with a bowl cut, and then now you have really long hair. So
Yeah,
congrats.
I'm really disappointed. Actually, they used to have like all of our photos up
Yeah.
for over the years, and you could like kind of see like, oh, my freshman year was bad. You know, I looked like a bulldog. I had this terrible bowl cut. It kind of looks like yours, honestly.
Oh,
And you can just see it start to grow out and grow out. I look like I'm
Yeah.
absolutely homeless in my junior year photo, but you know, this year being the last one, I got to make sure I do it right, Don.
Yeah, we have the perfect dynamic here. We have a super senior, and then we have a good old fresh meat here, freshman.
Absolutely.
man.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The
This is
youngest
gonna be
they
fun.
can get.
yeah,
So guys, spring break has officially started. When are you gonna go home?
Oh, I'm staying in the great town of Marion, Indiana.
oh yeah,
for a
he's
week.
from Oak Hill, so
He's from hometown.
I live right down
kid.
the road, so I'm staying here.
Luke, you doing anything?
Well, I'm going to go home for a little bit. Fort Wayne, you know, 45, 50-minute drive, but I'll probably be back up here for part of the week, use the weight room. I'm working for a nice lady for a time to make some money, so
nice.
you never really leave Marion once you get here, you know?
That's true. That's
That
kind of
is
big
true.
facts.
Yeah, we have that giant gate at the front, so
So let's get into the interview. So yeah, the giant gate. So you guys come here, and I like to hear kind of like the difference of stories because Luke, you came in the second year the program was here. You came in here the year after the first 50. You didn't know what to expect when you first came here. All you knew is that Langs had a vision. So what was that experience like for you to come here?
Well, it's really interesting because in 2017, so my junior year of high school, I had their first like junior day, and we did it over in Barnes, and there were tons of kids there, and I was like, I was pretty early, not like early in the recruiting process, but that was kind of like right before it really kicked in. Was like spring of my junior year. I was going to start doing stuff that summer. This summer before your senior year is really your biggest year for recruiting. And so I came over here, and it was the day of a baseball game, I remember. So I had like my baseball like uniform stuff on for the game later that day. And they just showed photo after photo after photo of these gorgeous facilities. And they were like, this is what it's going to look like. You guys got to promise us, like, we've broken ground. There were tons of, like, machines and all these backhoes and stuff over by the football facility. They were like, this is Coach Langs, this is Coach T, this is Coach Aldrin. Those are the only 3 coaches we have right now. Like, we're starting to fill out our staff. We've got our first recruiting class pretty much locked up with those first 50, 60 guys. And it was really interesting because it was like, this school was unlike any other school I was looking at the time. Like other schools in the area would be Marion, St. Francis. Like, Marion was just off of 2 championships in the past decade, and St. Francis had just gone back to back.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah.
that was the year,
Yeah.
my senior year of high school was the year that they
2018,
won.
right?
It was 2016 and 17.
Okay, yeah.
So
yeah,
they
yeah.
just came off, like, that December, their second national championship in a row with, like, this god-tier quarterback. And so it was really interesting to come here and be like, oh, like, who are your quarterbacks? Well, it's Tanner Burns. It's
Yeah.
this freshman, like, from my area. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a really interesting, like, dichotomy to look at. And so, like, just going through the recruiting process over the next year, it was like, wow, all these pictures that they showed us in this PowerPoint, like, came true almost to a T.
Mm.
So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, and now on the flip side of it, Tristan, you were here, you're from the area, so I mean, you've kind of experienced, I guess, some IWU football games in the past when you weren't, I guess, getting into the whole recruiting process, and then the recruiting process started. Everything that Luke saw pictures of, you got to see in person. So what was that kind of like, and like hearing the stories?
Well, going back, I've grown up around here, so I've seen IWU before there was a football team, like back when that was just all nothing out there. And I remember in my freshman year, we took a big bus, and they had a camp here on the practice field, or the track and field or whatever.
Mhm.
And I remember Coach Aldrin having his gold whistle there. That was like the one thing I took away from it. And so that was before they'd even built the stadium, so it was just all a bunch of ground. They actually had the facility, but they hadn't built the stadium yet.
Oh, okay.
So they took us all through there. They had like it was a recruiting day for schools, and we took most of my class or whatever. But In the recruiting ways, I guess, my recruiting day, I actually was on crutches, so I couldn't do my workout. And so I just sat through all the meetings and what they'd showed us and what they'd said. Really, they'd said we're about to have a really good year next year. We're like right there pushing the peak. And they showed me a lot of things, and then they kind of just followed through. Same thing he said, followed through with a lot of stuff. I actually denied when I was here. I really just wanted to talk to the coaches and go home because I didn't go on the tour on campus because I'd already known what everything was.
Yeah, true.
And so I was like, yeah, I'll just stay and talk to you guys, and then I'll go home. So it wasn't that too much recruiting, but I kind of already knew I was going to come here. It's the first text I ever got from Coach Byers. I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to go here.
Yeah. Okay.
That was my biggest.
You kind of knew what you.
I kind of knew that's what I wanted to do, especially once they'd seen all the nice stuff from the football team. I knew I wanted to come here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you guys sign here, you come here, whether that be the summer or that fall, and so then what's like those first workouts for you guys? How are you like dealing with that, like between some of the older guys? I know Luke, that's not really you were kind of you were the older guy when you kind of showed up, but for like how is it stacking up against the first guys over here, and then Tristan, how is it when you came in and now there's juniors and seniors that could be figuratively miles ahead of you?
Well, so I graduated high school on like May 31st, and I was here on June 3rd. And they were like, we want you down here and ready to go. So, I'm basically out of my cap and gown, into the car, and into Bowman.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we had 50 kids. I just remember I was absolutely like saucer plates for eyes when I saw, because it was just all these kids who were in there like cooking. They had been there for like a week or two already. Some kids didn't even go home from April to May. So there were all these kids that were already like entrenched in here, kind of knew what to expect. And that summer was insane because they had me cleaning toilets and house cleaning. And that was like one of the first like consistent like everyday jobs I'd ever had, and that was kind of interesting to juggle. But then like with football on top of that, like it was just competition every day because nobody had played. There was no game experience on the roster, and so it was just competition every day between these guys. And I remember like one story was I was getting off of housekeeping late, and I didn't know the coaches that well because it was like our first week in the summer. And I was freaking out because I actually got lost on campus. I hadn't really ever driven here before. It's really small. And now saying that, like, if I ever heard that a kid got lost on campus, like, I would make fun of this kid so hard. But, like, I put the directions to the stadium into my GPS, and it wasn't there because the stadium was that new. So I was like, all right, I was, like, reading the signs, and I was like, I blew like 6 stop signs on campus. And this campus police guy comes up behind me, and he stops me right in front of the stadium in those little parking spots there. Yeah. So all the coaches and all the players got to see. He's like, what are you doing, son? And I was like, I'm about to be late for football. Like, this is my first week here. Like, I'm really sorry. Like, I haven't even enrolled in any classes yet. And he's like, if you ever do that again, I just watched you blow by 6 stop signs. If you ever do that again, I'm going to write you a ticket for all you're worth. Oh. And instead of writing that ticket for me over the years, I think they've actually given it to Owen instead.
Yeah,
but
they have.
Yeah.
Dang
it. Okay.
I just remember,
that is
like,
so mean.
I was freaking out. I was the 17-year-old kid late to a football practice. I roll in like 20 minutes late, and all the guys are just roasting me for it. They're like, what's up, Speed Demon, or something like that. And I'm glad that name never stuck. But it was, man, I was crazy.
You're not very fast, man. Come on.
I'm not. That's fair.
Yeah, You're probably
Luke has a very interesting running formation. It's kind of funny. He does like butt kicks while he's like trying to take a stride. It's like really funny.
If I could change anything about myself, it would be my running form. It would be my walking
you play
form
O-line,
and
though,
my
so
running form.
Yeah, your walk form.
I've had so many people mock me for my walking running form. They're called Lego Man. I don't ever need that again.
Good waddle. You got a good waddle.
I like Lego Man.
Yeah.
Tristan, so what about you? You especially right now. So the reason we have some football players on, and it's not because so far, Donovan, we've had in-season athletes. Yeah. We had track and field, both basketball teams, and then the 2 tennis guys. But the reason we got them on is because softball. If you're watching this, answer our emails. We want to have you guys on here.
I didn't want to make it a personal shot like
that. No.
I
I want to get them on here. I love softball. They're good, and they're really good right now. So I mean, we definitely want to get them on here. But so football was kind of a filler right now because they're out of season. So Tristan, kind of going on to the off season. What has that been like? Because Luke's experienced what now? You've experienced how many morning runs? Like,
I actually tried to do the math, and I was thinking if it's 16 a year.
no, like how many like times, like years? I mean, like you've been doing it for what, 4 years now? Is that your 4th morning run sessions?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a morning run in football is every Monday and Thursday at 6 a.m. We have to get out in the cold weather, get in our car, scrape off the ice at 5:30 in the morning, and then drive over to Troyer and probably icy roads, and then do a run from 6 to 7 every Monday and Thursday of every week. After literally right after Christmas break on the worst surface ever.
Composite flooring.
So, yeah. And so Tristan, what was that like getting, you kind of knew, you mentally prepared a little bit for as much as you could because you heard stories, but what was that like?
Oh, it sucked. It was, I mean, the worst part was getting yourself up.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, being a freshman, especially the first couple ones, really did not expect it. Like, did not know what we were doing. But once you get in the routine of things, it's really not that bad, But Sunday night, go to bed early. Wednesday night, go to bed early. But it's a lot different than what high school was. I played basketball during that time last year. I never really had an off season in high school where I would just train. So it was kind of cool this year to just train.
Yeah, kind of like you with baseball, like you in high school, right, Luke? You didn't experience much spring ball because I was the same way. I played football, and then I had 2 free weeks to kind of work out with the offensive line because we worked out with the powerlifting team, and then right into baseball. Like literally, I think we started in February was when we started practicing. Was that kind of the same thing for you in high school?
Well, it's actually kind of interesting. So in Indiana, as far as I know, you're not allowed to do spring football.
Oh, really?
At least with pads or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we didn't do much off-season anything. They had like a lifting program for you, but they really said, we want you to be in as many sports as possible. Yeah. So I'd go football. I'd take a week off, go to wrestling. I'd take 2 days off because my baseball coach freaked me out, and I'd go straight into baseball. So it was pretty much an all-year thing. And then in the summer, they were like, all 3 of us were like, we want you at this, this, and this. And so it was trying to satisfy as much of that as we could.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys get here, and you hop into practice. And then what was the first time, either practice or game, where you just got like woken up, good morning, this is college football?
Yeah, the college football moment.
Well, I mean, the coolest moment, obviously, like a moment I don't think you can recreate is like running out on the field for the first time against Taylor with people on the storage facility roofs next to the stadium. Like it was so full. They had people like sitting wherever they could. And, like my high school probably pulled 1,000 at their best games, I feel like. And that seemed kind of big. But I think the biggest difference is with no track to like separate the field, no 8-lane track there. There's people literally, like Charlie Hill's dad is in my ear.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
It's just insane.
Is his dad bald?
Yes, his dad's the bald guy.
I have heard him.
The whistle.
I have heard him way too many times.
I am positive he will listen to this, and I just want to make sure we can hear you, Mr. Hill.
Yeah, don't worry.
But
we want to run the ball as much as you do.
Yeah, dude, I'm in for it. Like everything he's saying is like he's definitely an advocate for us. But man, he is so loud.
Yeah, that's funny.
But I'd say the biggest moment is my 4th game ever we played. It was homecoming, so it was packed out, and I freshly turned 18, and I went up against this guy who was like 2-time all-conference from St. Francis, Illinois.
I was at that game.
This guy was 24 years old, and you could kind of see that he was like, this guy was old, and he was crafty, and this kid was just like, I was like, wow, this kid's just better at football right now than me, because I could tell he'd had 5 years in the weight room, and I think that's kind of what kind of kicked it in gear for me. That was like, the weight room's going to be immensely important to get to the next level. Like, you hit your weight goal, and you're like, oh, this is great, but like, if you haven't hit that strength goal yet, you're going to be able to feel it, and I think that's the one time I've really felt it, and I was like, I never want to do this again.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Tristan? Have you had like in practice and stuff?
Yeah, the biggest like oh crap moment is definitely day 1 of pads, and I remember vividly standing right next to Zach Mitchner. And it had to have been like the 2nd or 3rd play. And Coach Roof got in a fight with somebody. I don't know what it was, but there was a big scuffle. And I remember vividly looking at Zach and going, oh, man, this is for real.
Yeah.
Like, they're not screwing around. Like, I've never
seen it's like
this
guys
before.
in your team, like full-on fist fight.
Yeah.
You're like, what is going on?
Oh, my goodness, this is really happening. But other than that, I would say definitely being on the scout team against the number 1s on defense.
Yeah.
Running into Ishmael Avila is not fun, and that's definitely the first time you get popped by him. You're like, oh man, these guys hit hard.
Yeah.
This is not like high school at all.
Yeah.
So that's
a special
definitely
christening too.
That
He
is
hits hard.
Ish of all people. Oof.
That was a
That's
bell
rough.
ringing that I'm
is
glad
rough.
I don't have to take anymore.
Yeah. Shout out to Ish. We're going to miss him this year.
Yeah, and even when he was a sophomore, like the first one-on-one rep I had against him was just him trying to put the crown of his helmet through my chin.
Yeah.
And
Right
it was
with the
just a
helmet.
wake up, dude. I think it put me, we used to use like a Weeble dummy for our one-on-ones, and he threw me over this Weeble dummy. And it was like, this is just guys with different amounts of strength than I've
And he's like a year older than you too at that point. So I mean, like that's crazy.
The saddest thing about it is it was like we would break the huddle and the whole scout team would see the play and they would be like, oh no, like he's pulling over to go get him. And everybody would be like, hey, watch him. Like, watch, he's about to get smoked.
Yeah.
And then boom, it would happen. And it'd be like, yeah, you got him.
That's funny. Okay. And kind of going off, I guess, the note of, welcome to college football moment. What has been the biggest difference from high school football? Luke, you're going to have to, dig back in the memory bank from high school football, with it being 5 years ago. But, I mean, so
Come on, Grandpa.
What? I mean, hey, we're literally
guys, I'm 21 years old.
We're a year younger than him. I know. I'm 21. I'm the same age.
I'm only 21.
You're very young, though.
I am less than a year younger than Luke.
Yeah, but I'm kidding. But in all seriousness, what was the difference between like high school football and the speed? I mean, you kind of touched on it with the training and all that stuff, but the major difference when you got to college football, were you like, oh my gosh, like, okay, I'm just playing college football. This is serious.
I would say, well, there's a couple of things that come to mind. Like, you're not just going against some guy that you see in third period anymore. Yeah. Like there were some guys that I played against. There was a guy who actually is like the center at Wisconsin now, who I went against. I was like, dude, this guy's really talented even on defense. Like, that's cool. But that's everybody now. Everybody is at least good at one weird thing. That's like their best thing. Like I kind of relate it to like, Mariano Rivera is like a really good pitcher, right? But like he's got his cutter. That's what you got to watch. Like there's at least one thing you got to watch from every guy in the field. There's nobody that's just there as like a placeholder. And I think that's the biggest difference. Like sometimes guys were playing in high school just because they were like really big, Well, now we have guys like Owen Perkins who are massive human beings. Yeah. But they also have some dirty pass rush moves.
Very speedy.
Yeah. They've like really honed in on those strengths. So it's probably the talent level. I don't feel like the speed was as big of a deal as I feel like a lot of people told me it was going to be. And I'm not trying to use that as like a flex, but like I think that was one thing I was really intentional about, was watching the speed as much as I could of college football when I was a senior in high school. Mm-hmm. So I would just say like the talent level, you're getting like guys who know how to use their body and they know how to use it really well.
Yeah. I completely agree. In high school, probably 8 of us were playing both sides of the ball, and we were having practice. One day was practice for offense, one day was practice for defense. Yeah. So that was a big difference. But I would say one of the biggest things, I'll say 2 things, is obviously the weight room. Yeah. In high school, we didn't have that good of a program, but here it's like every day you're on it, and you're getting your stuff in, and it's good stuff. But another thing would be like the play calls. That really, first, I remember
you're preaching to the choir.
Coming to the summer, I came to one of the summers. The first one I came, actually, the old tight ends coach was here. That was
Coach Sharon. Yeah,
Coach Sharon. That was the only day I ever saw him. And we get in there on like, it was like day 2 installs, and he just started launching a bunch of stuff at us, and I was like, oh my. Yeah. And Charlie and Evan were sitting there just like, oh yeah, he goes here, he goes there, he goes there. But back in high school, like, I mean, our plays were 43 lead and like, 28 toss. Yeah. And now we got like a full 2-sentence play.
Yeah. It's got like a comma in between it and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that's probably the biggest difference for me.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So Luke, you talked about Taylor earlier, so we're going to get this out of the way. But first of all, so it would have been your sophomore year. So Tristan, you weren't here yet. The first time you guys beat Taylor at Taylor's house. And it was kind of a little bit of revenge tour because a Taylor player said this was a great first win in our new home after they beat you your freshman year here.
Swore.
Yeah. How did that feel, beating them at their place your second time?
Well, it was a really weird game. So that's probably the second most packed I've ever seen a game. They had people lining the stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had a guy go down, an offensive lineman. And so Coach Atkins, the O-line coach, comes up to me like right before that game. We're like warming up. I'm warming up at my right tackle position. And he comes up to me and says, hey, you're going to play left guard. And I was like, what? I've never really played guard. I've never taken reps there. He's like, yeah, I'm putting you at left guard. We're putting Doyle at right tackle. So that's how we're going to do this. And like, to start taking reps there. And I was like, okay, I've got like 20 minutes to figure out how to play this position I've never really played before.
Yeah.
And then, so when you run like power and counter, like you have the guard pulling up for the middle linebacker. So like you don't really pull at tackle. We ran power like 12 times that game. I don't think we ever have run it again since, but we ran power.
Literally got rid of the play.
And over and over. But of course, the best part of that game, besides winning and getting to, you know, like hug your buddies as they rush the field afterward, was you, Donovan.
Yeah.
Little freshman Donnie in the middle of the game, right? So, Tristan, I'm not sure you've heard this story. This story is amazing.
I have not.
Yeah.
So
Wait, can I give the backstory real quick?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those who don't know, I have done sideline interviewing for Indiana Wesleyan's games. I had done it freshman year. I have not done it since, just because of it's not for bad reasons, just that we haven't had the amount of people for us to keep doing that type of stuff. So I was doing sideline interviewing for the Indiana Wesleyan side, and it was a big deal. I mean, it was the biggest game of the year that year, you could say, because they ended up winning. But I had been told by a teacher who's no longer here, rest in peace, Dr. King.
Rest in peace, Dr. King.
And he had said, you can go up to a coach kind of when you feel like things are dead, and you can ask them a question. And now a little bit more backstory. About a week prior, I had done sideline interviewing for the Eastbrook Oak Hill game, and the Eastbrook head coach did not care if I came up and talked to him after they scored a touchdown or something like that. I was thinking in my head, all right, obviously I'm not going to approach Langs. That would be a dumb move. And so what happened is that I saw a coach way down on basically the opposite side of the field. I don't know if you guys were on offense or defense. I'm going to go with you guys were on offense. And so I was like, this is a great time.
That makes it so much worse.
This is a great time. I was asking for a one-liner here real quick. And Luke, take it away.
So the important thing to understand is that Donovan walked up to our run game coordinator while we were on offense.
Yeah. The
so
offensive
he's drawing
line
up. Yeah. So he comes up to the offensive line coach and our run game coordinator in a game where we ran the ball like 40 times.
Oh, yeah. It was crazy.
We did not throw the ball
And
much
it was
in
a
that
tight game.
Yeah.
It was
And,
not a blowout.
You know, little freshman, wet behind the ears, Donnie comes up to Coach Ekins, who is, you know, in the middle of doing his job, and goes, "Hey, Coach, can I ask you a question real quick?" And Coach Ekins looks at this kid, you know, wearing like an Iwu poncho and like, you know, his little headset and stuff.
I was not wearing a poncho.
Like, no, like you can't ask me a question in the middle of the game.
The absolute death stare he gave me, and just gave me a no. I was like, why was I told I can ask questions?
Because Randall was the king of hanging you out to dry. I know that not many people are going to be able to resonate with that.
I seriously thought he was going to watch. Coach Ekins, I know you're watching. I seriously thought he was going to come over and like try to attempt to strangle me.
I would have.
It was just like,
are you kidding me?
no.
Like, no, he's right in the middle of working. So like,
And you know what? And that is when I knew the difference between high school and college football.
that was your wake up moment.
It was.
That was his welcome to college football moment.
It was.
Every time, Dottie, that we're watching game film now, and like, you know, the camera swings at the end of the play, like every once in a while we'll go, "Hey, look, it's Dottie," and we'll just kind of look at him and laugh. He's like, "We're cool. I don't hate Donovan." It's like, yeah, we know, but like we have to let you know. You know?
I had to make sure he liked the podcast because
I had talked to him first semester. I had just talked to him because I wanted to do an interview potentially with him. It ended up falling through. We couldn't do it. But
he hates you.
But I emailed him. I was like, "Hey, Coach Ekins, this is me, Donovan. I'm like the kid that asked you for the interview." And he's like, "Oh, I want to apologize, Donovan. I didn't mean it." I'm like, don't apologize. It's already in the past.
Oh, that's so funny. Gosh.
So done with that.
There's Donovan's dumbest moment on the football field. Now, Luke, where's yours?
We had a game in hand this year.
Yep.
It was the first game of the year, and some kid, you know, it was the fourth quarter, and as these stories always go, there has to be foreshadowing.
Yeah, of course.
So, you know, Coach Ekins comes up to us, the O-line coach, and he's like, "All right, listen up, like, let's finish this out real quick. We're up a score. We just got to run out the clock, run some 6-minute offense. Like, don't do anything stupid." And I'm like, yeah. Let's not do anything stupid, you know? So what do? I go on the field, and I do something really, really dumb. I go on the field. So, like, this kid, like, you know, we're just running the ball. We're trying to run out the clock.
Yeah.
And first win of the year, the emotions are high. Yeah. I'm an emotional, like, player.
We're playing Valparaiso.
Yeah. And this guy comes up, and, like, our running back's on the ground, right? Yeah. It's our kind of change-up guy for the year. And he's holding on to the ball. You know, the last thing we want to do is give up the ball to them with a chance to score, like, late in the game. And this guy's, like, shaking our running back on the ground. And I, like, kind of, like, help pick him up and kind of, like, push him away from our running back. And this kid deserves an Oscar because he absolutely sold it.
Yeah.
He sold it. He flopped on the ground, and the ref, who's like kind of been in my ear the whole game, gets to throw his little personal foul flag, and I get off the field, and I get screamed at.
Yeah, I remember that.
What are you doing?
That was awesome.
What are you doing on the ball? Just walk away from it. It's like, yeah, you're right. I should have, and I absolutely didn't, and I'm an idiot. And that's. I'm not getting into the other moment, but that's probably the one I'm going with. Is the dumbest thing I've done.
Also, Luke is the first ever penalized player on the IW football
Yes,
team.
he
And it was
is.
also his Twitter bio
No,
for like 3 years.
It might still be in there.
Yeah, we're not really sure. Everyone go look it up. But
I don't. Yeah.
It's the first ever penalty or holding call in IW history.
It's the first ever penalty in Iowa history.
That's a great title, honestly. I mean, like, it may not be, but it is.
Well, like at the end of the day, Owen, like what you take with you is what you believe about.
Oh, 100%.
You know,
yeah.
So like you gotta look. You know, Tristan, you have this one sick catch so far that you get to leave as your legacy right now. Like, Owen, you get to leave. You and I, like, what's our statistical legacy? Like, one of my buddies on the baseball team, like, I was looking up his stats. I was like, oh, like, you know, you're hitting like, I'm gonna make up a number to be nice. Like, you're hitting like 330 this year. You know, no strikeouts so far. Like, you know what? You look at my stats, you see games played.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, no,
crazy.
that's true.
And it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's not even right.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So like, you know, if you get to have something, like you got to hold on
Yeah.
to it, even if it's something that killed a drive in a game that we lost.
Yeah. What about you, Tristan? In considering you're a freshman, you can go back to high school. So what's the most embarrassing that's happened to you on this field?
Oh, I'll go back to high school because I mean, I kind of embarrass myself every day out here, but we'll go back to high school.
Because you're a freshman.
Yeah, so probably most embarrassing thing, which I thought it was kind of legendary. I didn't think it was too embarrassing, but we were it was just a regular drive or whatever, and we ran a boot pass or whatever, and I ran a corner, and I caught the ball, and I guess there's just two guys in front of me, and they come both in to tackle me, and one's like on my legs and one's on my hip or whatever. But they're not too big of guys, so they're not like just taking me down immediately, and I'm kind of falling down a little bit. But my best friend Kian comes running up, and I'm like, and he's like getting ready to block one of them. I was like, no. And I remember yelling at him, here. And I handed him the ball.
No.
And
never end good.
And I have a video of it, and but he was in front of me. So technically it counts as a forward lateral. Even though I handed it off, I didn't let go of the ball. I didn't toss it, but I handed it to him, and he ran for like 30 more yards until he got tackled. But I mean, it was legendary in the moment because I just got up and like once Kian got tackled, I'm just screaming, yeah, and he's running back to me. He's like, oh my gosh, that was so cool.
Yeah.
And then like we turn around and we see the yellow flag. And we're like, oh no. And I just vividly remember hearing my name being screamed from the sideline. And I look over and my coach's headset is on the ground.
Yeah.
And he's just, Tristan. It doesn't say a word. It's just looking at me. And I'm dying inside. Yeah. And we get back to the huddle, and like we like get back into our huddle to where he can't like see our faces. Yeah. And the entire team is laughing. We are dying laughing. We were up by like 20. We didn't really care. But that's probably the most embarrassing moment just because it got called back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to put the coaches on blast for a quick second.
Oh, no.
Who's like the I guess in your guys' opinion, it might be just based on like position coaches anyway, just because you spend your most time around them, but who kind of brings the most joy to you personally on the coaching staff?
The most joy?
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time with Coach Ekins. And at the end of the day, like he works us hard, you know, and for good reason. Like this is our job, you know, like this is what we came here to do, is to get better at football. And his like sole task is to be like help us get better at football. And so like one of the things that you think about, like there's a quote by some college coach who's like, you know, my job security rests on 18 to 22-year-olds. You know, and that's like kind of true. Like,
yeah, it's very true.
What an interesting job to put yourself into. But you know, so like he coaches us really hard, but like it's a blast. You know, like. When they canceled the 2020 season in the fall, it was like, man, like there's nothing I'd rather be doing right now than getting yelled at during Run Pro.
Yeah, it was so weird,
yeah. So like that's really big. And then coach my freshman year, his name was CJ Nightingale. Like he was just a really fun guy to be around. Like he called everyone cat. Look at this cat, you know, something like that. Really trying to get into the Wildcat thing, and he deserves a little shout. He's at Wheaton now, but he was also a really funny guy that like always made me laugh.
Yeah. What about you, Tristan?
I'd probably piggyback. Just with Coach Ekins. I like him as a person too, but as a coach, because he's the kind of guy, in my opinion, that can get on to you, but then bring you back in after.
100%.
And that's what I really like, because you know it's nice to get coached up, but feel like you're still a part of things after the fact. So once he brings you in and lets you know what you did wrong and why you did it wrong and how to get better for it. So
yeah, definitely. What about the most hype coach before the games? The guy that's banging his head against the wall. He's got the speaker in the air like he's on like one of those Star Wars characters. Like what this year, specifically this year, who was the most hype coach for you? Because this year was a good year for the team. We went 9-1, conference champs. So yeah.
I just want to be clear. The Star Wars character you're referring to is a Tauntaun, correct?
That thing, yeah.
Or Tusken Raider. Tusken Raider.
Tusken Raider. Oh, come on.
I was wrong. It's not a Tauntaun. I'm sorry.
Luke doesn't like Star Wars.
I'm not that big of a Star Wars fan, but I knew what you were talking about.
Tusken Raider, yeah.
You literally were describing Coach Aldrin.
Yeah.
The D-line coach.
That's what I was kind of going
He used to. He doesn't always do it anymore, but at a lot of away games, he used to actually give us the hype speech right before the game in the middle of a huddle, and we'd all huddle around him, and he would just freak out. I can't remember what he was really saying, but he was just, and, at the end, everyone just it just lit us up. And a lot of the coaches are a little bit more even keeled, because they want the players to be even keeled. I think he does a really good job of driving with healthy emotion.
Yes.
Not to rattle the players or get them too high, but he probably runs the hottest of any of the coaches. And the second one I think is Coach Lang's.
Yeah.
I think when Coach Lang's, the 3 or 4 interactions we've had in the middle of games are super intense.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, really healthy, but it's almost oh my gosh, you look at that guy in the eyes and he's it's all business, but it is fiery, intense business in a way that I don't think any of the other coaches have really looked me in the eyes, except maybe after the water bottle incident of 2019. But, we can talk about
Coach
that.
Roof will put you on blast.
So, yeah, probably those two with Coach Aldrin leading the charge.
Yeah. What about you? Kind of the same?
I've only been here for a year, so it's kind of hard. But the day I saw Coach Aldrin rip his shirt off and throw a Gatorade jug in the air full of Gatorade, I knew he meant business. He was for real. And so he's probably the most hype coach in my opinion. But I get what he's saying about Coach Lings. I think Coach Lings always knows what to say.
Yeah.
When it comes to something like that, like getting somebody ready to go or something. He's just kind of that coach that knows what to say.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so
Don't flinch.
right before the game, you got earbuds on, you got headphones on, or you just vibing in the locker room. What's the song?
Yeah.
What's the song that gets you going?
Yeah.
Oh man, we actually figured out a good system for this. So my biggest songs that I play actually come from our walk from the rec over to the stadium. That's the time where I really grasp in all right, it's time to lock in. We're about to go into the stadium, and the next 5 hours need to be really dialed in. But those are the songs I remember the most. I used to play God's Gonna Cut You Down by Johnny Cash earlier in my career. It was a pretty good one, and it actually fit the walk really well.
Yeah.
The song I've been playing more recently on the way over is actually Devastated.
Okay.
I can't actually say the artist's name right now.
Joey. Just call him Joey.
Joey B,
Joey B.
Yeah, so I've been playing that. I think I played that all of 2021 on the way over there. And then we actually made a offensive line playlist that we will go into our meeting room, and we'll put it on in there. And it is every 90s metal, grunge, rock song.
I thought it was going to be some
hear.
sea shanties in there
No,
for Ben.
there's a couple of Chief Keef songs. It's fun.
Sound of Silence by...
Disturbed.
Yeah, Disturbed is on there as one of the last ones we'll play. Because, at the end of the day, you want to be hyped, but it's also, the level of intensity needs to be higher than your emotions, I think.
Oh, yeah. It's like a whole different ball game, when it comes to, turning that there's a practice angry, and then there's a game angry, and it's, completely two different things. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I'm not sure if this is me calling myself out, it's a competition, but at the end of the day, I feel at this point, it's a performance.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You have studied the moves you need to make, when you need to make them, and how you need to make them against somebody else. You need to go perform at your best, because if you perform at your best, the opponent doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. 100%, yeah.
So I feel in high school a lot, and you can learn from this freshman, I looked at it like a competition. I got to beat this guy. No, I can beat this guy and still get a 0 on the play because I didn't do it right. The performance needs to be correct. The footsteps need to be correct. And when the footsteps are right and I'm going to the right spot, that's when the performance is adequate.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Tristan, when it comes to music?
Oh, I'm a big Lil Baby guy for
All right.
for hype songs.
That's per his generation, though, honestly.
yeah, and a lot of people get
Why do
mad.
you say
You
generation?
Gen Z.
He's 2 years younger than us.
Well, his grade, I meant. That's what his age group.
A lot of my friends in high school would not like if I had aux before the game because I just played a lot of kind of repetitive music. It was
Yeah.
kind of the same genre and the same kind of lyrics. But yeah, I can get pretty hyped up to some Lil Baby. So I also don't like listening. Sometimes I listen to music too soon.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of just stuck and I'm like, man, I cannot get back up on the horse for this. Like, you know what I mean? So I didn't really do it this year, but in high school, I would listen to music probably right before we walked out.
Yeah.
And then but before that, probably not too much.
Yeah.
Would you guys like to hear something kind of interesting?
Sure.
Yeah.
In high school, before games, my teammates would play their mixtapes. That is what we got to listen to. We had like this gross 2000 CD player, and they would burn these CDs or they would hook up their phone, and they would play their mixtapes, and they were the most awful things I've ever heard. There wasn't even like, oh, this guy's is kind of good. No, they were all terrible. But that is what we listened to get fired up before games, then no sleep till Brooklyn.
Have you ever heard the song? It's Tiptoe Through the Tulips. That's what it is.
Yeah.
We would
It's in
listen to that.
SpongeBob.
We would listen to that before the game in high school. We put it on the speaker at some point before the game. We had to listen to that and first day out in that order.
Dreams and Nightmares is our.
Yeah.
So the way what we do, and I mean everyone pretty much does this, is that they go. It's kickers and returners go out first. So specialists and returners, and then quarterbacks.
And long snappers. Give him credit.
That's the specialist. Donovan doesn't know football.
Shout out Shiloh.
And
Give him my boy Shiloh some credit.
and then it goes quarterbacks and receivers. So like the skill guys. So then DBs as well. And then it goes to big. So some of the linebackers, the defensive linemen, and the offensive linemen. And coach, that's honestly what I think of Coach Aldrin, is him just literally just speaker up in the air, and he's just dreams and nightmares, like this giant JBL party box, and it's like nightmares come true, and Coach Aldrin's just yeah. That's what I think of when I definitely think of like a song.
You could really see like the different type of guys during that moment too.
Oh yeah,
because you'll have guys like Vince Versteeg who are like rapping the whole thing and they're like really animated about it. And then you'll have a guy like, I think Jackson Burke is actually the one that I come to the most. Like Jackson will be kind of saying it, but he'll just be like really even keeled and like down, like more like internally ready to go.
Yeah,
and Vince is just like
100%.
explode every lyric, every word ready to go. But yeah, there's just two different types of guys you can see there.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So last question. It's been already like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's felt like really fast. But so for the last question, a little bit more serious. So what has this program done for you outside of just becoming a better football player? I know Luke, like it's almost there for you. Tristan, you're just a freshman, so it might be something you have to think a little bit harder. You're not quite there mentally ready to kind of answer that question. But for you, Luke, like what will this program do for you?
Well, the biggest thing is that from a physical standpoint, I've changed a lot. You know, like that's one of the biggest noticeable changes. You know, I've put on 60 pounds since graduating high school. I've gotten a lot stronger. I have, running form, speed.
That you do.
I'm not sure it's changed.
You're probably
but,
faster
like,
than high school.
I
would
am
say,
speed.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I could. I'm not sure I could convince anyone. I'm more athletic, but
what
like
was your 40-yard dash? You did the combine thing the other day with the Colts and Lions. What was your 40?
it was a 5.5.
Hey, that's not awful.
Well, Ben
How
was
many,
a 5'1".
how many guys can say they ran for the Colts and the Lions?
Exactly.
That is
Come on.
true.
But the biggest thing I would say, honestly, is that especially taking some of the upper level business classes now as a marketing major, like Coach Lanks has done an amazing job of implementing a culture, and it's really interesting. So like I get in here, 2018, and we're doing these culture blueprint meetings at like 8 at night, and I'm like, dude, I want to go to bed. I want to call my mom. And we're doing these culture blueprint meetings. I'm like, man, I don't want any part of this. But like, he's like, you need to buy into this. This is going to be important. This is what's going to be the building blocks of our team. And so we do these culture blueprint meetings. We do like 10 of them. We did a ton of them my freshman year. And so we're doing these meetings, and it's like all about, do what you say I would do, climb, unwavering love for others. Those are the key like 3 parts of the program. And so he's built this culture, and finally, these last couple of years, like you can see this culture really being into effect because suddenly, instead of guys in that meeting being all that's on the team, we have these freshmen that we have to instill it on now. Coach Langs isn't doing these blueprint meetings anymore.
Exactly.
This is our job to instill this on you, to the next group, to the guys who are going to have to instill it to somebody else in 3 to 5 years when you're old. And so, like, looking at that, it's been able to see, like, culture is so important, and so, like, moving into like taking all these management classes and stuff, like you can see like they're like, you need to be able to build a culture. Like, what do you need to be able to do? And I'm like, well, I've just lived a very well built culture for the last 4 years that I'm going to be like, that's going to be so much more important in the workforce than like reading about it in a book or something like that. So even in the job I want to have one day, like being able to see this culture that's being built is going to be huge.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, yeah, I agree.
Well, no, like, what do you want to get out of
this
it?
whole
Like,
time.
because you're a freshman, and yeah, you've learned some stuff, but what do you want to get out of it?
Well, the way I look at it, and I can kind of see this now that like I look at him or I look at any other seniors, guys that are in leadership roles, I try to look at them and think, how am I going to get myself to them? So it's kind of weird being at the bottom now, but the biggest thing I like have somewhat taken away already is that like nobody's waiting for you.
Yeah.
And it kind of, we're just playing football, but it's kind of like if we're doing this and nobody's waiting you on football, nobody's going to wait on you after football.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the biggest thing that I've somewhat started to grasp, because I haven't taken everything in, obviously, but somewhat kind of touched on is that it's real. Like people don't wait on you in the real world, and you got to see how you react to it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, it's a big kind of just explain what you said. It's big like if you don't use your abilities the way you can use them, someone else is going to take it.
Yeah.
Someone else is going to use your abilities to the way. And I mean, that for me, freshman year, that was a huge thing. Was I came in as like this, I was an all-state, I was all district type of guy, like, and now it's everyone is an all district, an all state, all conference guy. So I mean, that was a big that was kind of my welcome to football moment, was seeing guys that I would go against in high school because it was they wanted to line up the best guy against the best guy in high school. Well, now it's everyone's the best guy going against all the best guys in college football. So it is really cool. So
yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Some things happen. Luke, you have been waiting for this day for you to be on this podcast.
Hey, Dottie, I just like spending time with you. You're such a blast, Donnie.
I know. I'm such a joy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you guys so much. Might even get back to you guys sometime in the fall. We'll try to get other people, rotate the lineup a little bit, see who else is out there, see who else wants to be on it.
I have some roommates that are chomping at the bit.
Yeah. I know Ben is. I know Ben for sure is. And then Tristan stepping up as a freshman. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I really
today.
appreciate it. He when at the lift yesterday, no offense to Tristan, but I had asked Luke to do it, and then I texted our starting tight end Charlie Hill. Charlie is arguably the funniest guy on the entire team, so I really wanted him on this. But Charlie has work, and he has to do the workout today as well. So I mean, he had some side things to do. So we miss you, Charlie, but. Tristan, when I told him that, I was like, hey, do you want to do the podcast? Because he had asked me, because he loves to like look at the clips that we do. And I swear, I don't think I've ever seen a smile so big on someone. He was like, are you serious? Like, you're not kidding, right? And I was like, no, like, do you want to be on it tomorrow? Like at 3:15? And he was like, dude, yes. Oh my gosh. Oh, please, can I be? And I was like, I'm asking you to be on the podcast. You can be on the podcast.
This is
and
a
he was
childhood
freaking
dream.
out. Like, he was like, oh my God, I could be like Joe Rogan. Can I bring my computer? And he's like, he's the first guest with a computer. Like,
I typed one thing in here earlier just to look like I was typing something.
Dude, we're like busting with the boys,
Yeah,
I was just waiting
awesome.
for someone to ask me a question so I could just look it up.
Yeah.
That's
And you
all I
had it.
wanted.
What was the? It was like
It was his Twitter, but
yeah.
Was it true? Is that in there?
I couldn't sign into my Twitter.
Oh my gosh, you joked. You brought it.
I know. I brought everything and it didn't work.
It's okay. But I mean, I could probably let me look at if I can get Luke Watson right here. Is it
71?
Luke
Watts
Watson?
71.
It's just under 71.
Watts
99. Oh, Watts _ 99. Shameless plug.
Yeah, do you guys want to
There we
plug
go.
anything
There we
before?
go. It
before
is
you guys
not.
leave?
It's your thing is. I'm sorry. It is his location is the trenches.
Yeah.
His link is IHOP.
Yeah.
And his shout out to our boy Lucas Doyle. It's him and Lucas in his profile picture. his like Twitter header thing is the show goes on, and it's from Wolf on Wall Street. Wolf on Wall Street.
Because I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving.
Yeah, he isn't. He is a fifth-year senior.
The show goes on, you know?
Show goes on.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, thank you guys so much. You guys have like an Instagram that we can tag you guys in for when we do post highlights?
Yeah.
It's Watts_99, WATZ.
Okay. And yours?
Trist 3mm, so TRIST 3mm.
Okay.
Heck
All
yeah.
right. Worst
I'll
case
make sure.
scenario, I'll just have Owen do
I'll
the
do it.
tagging.
Yeah, I have him. Yeah.
All right. So, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yeah,
It was
this is a blast.
seriously a blast.
Yeah.
It was like almost 50 minutes that we went for.
Heck yeah.
But, so, Owen, you ready to go to the preview?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Basketball is in the conference tournament. That game will be this Friday. Yeah, against Montreat College of North Carolina. The game will be here at Lucky Arena. So the whole opening round will be at Lucky, and the winner of each opening round will go to where is it at again? The NAIA National Championship for men's.
Kansas City.
Yeah. So best of luck to the men. That game will be Friday. The time has not been released yet, so we're not sure about that. And then going on to men's tennis, they're in that giant week-long trip that we talked about.
13 days.
13 days. Technically, they started it this week.
It started at Tuesday.
Yeah, they started on Tuesday, and we had already talked about those games. So they had that game against Cumberland's and then William Carey yesterday and today. And then on Monday, they will be playing at Southeastern University. They get to go to Florida. Lucky. Southeastern is number 18. Then they'll be playing number 2, Kaiser University. So they'll be staying in Florida for that. And that will be on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, they will be again in Florida against the number 21 Ave Maria University. And then on Thursday and Saturday in Lawrenceville, Georgia, they're taking on the top dogs of the NAIA, Georgia Gwinnett and University at the George Gwinnett Invite. So best of luck to the men's tennis team. And then NAIA Indoor National Champions will be taking it's going on. It started yesterday. The results are in, so I'll give you some of those results, and then it's going to go on to tomorrow or today and then Saturday. So I'm really excited for them. Players to be mentioned so far is Stephen Ott, Landon Wakeman, David Bignell, and Charlie Young. So, great job to them. Landon Wakeman earned the first spot in the finals for the Wildcats, taking 7th in the 5,000 meter with a time of 14 minutes and 44 seconds. 4 seconds faster than his personal best, so he got a PR. So congratulations to Landon. And then Charlie Young, Stephen Ott, and David Bignell and Wes Kundo would secure another spot in the finals for IW, this time in the 4x800 relay with a second place finish. So congratulations. That for the four of them have been kicking butt this whole year in that.
They have.
In that 4x800. So, and then, like I said, it's going to go on to today, and then Friday or Saturday, the results aren't in today. So, yeah. But Donovan, take it away with some other sports.
Yeah. All right, so women's basketball first up. So they also got invited to the NAIA opening round. So as I believe Owen was talking about, so actually here in Marion, Indiana, we were lucky enough to host both
just one.
men and women's.
But 2.
So that's awesome for them. So first game will be against. First game will be against IUSB, IU South Bend. And then if they win that game, they'll play the winner of Northwestern out of Iowa and Midway out of Kentucky. And if you win that game, then you'll be part of the final 16, who then go down to, over west to Sioux City, Iowa. People always be hating on Iowa. Iowa's a beautiful state. More than just
Donovan
corn
likes
there.
the
There
Hawkeyes,
is
so
hills.
don't let him tell you anything.
So that's what they get to look forward to and closing out with the end of their season. And so then we'll move on to softball. So coming up for them, they have a schedule just like the baseball team. Yep. So today is Friday. They're playing Manchester University right now. They'll play them again in doubleheader on Monday.
And that game got moved from Manchester to here. So it's kind of cool for the girls to kind of get a first game home experience in.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And so then they're going down to Kissimmee, Florida. They are going to play a doubleheader on Monday against South Carolina Beaufort. also against Northwestern Ohio. Then on Tuesday, they're going to play Bellevue University and Lawrence Tech. Oh my gosh, they're going to have 3 games that day. And then at night, they're going to play Trinity International University. Thursday, they're going to have a triple header against Dordt College out of Iowa, Carlow University out of Pennsylvania, and Grandview University. And then on Friday, they're going to have another triple header, Siena Heights University, Cornerstone University, and Lourdes University. They're going to play like 12 games.
Yeah, you need some water after that. That was a long time.
My throat
That's
be
a lot of
dry.
stuff, yeah.
So that's what they get to do for the next basically
fun
week
with
and a
that.
half.
But you said all the games are in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, lucky.
And then I might as well touch on this now, considering we won't release the episode until the next week. Then on the next Tuesday, so the March 15th on Tuesday, they will play a doubleheader against Taylor University. That'll be here at Indiana Wesleyan. So wow, they're gonna have a schedule for themselves coming up. It is spring ball season.
Yeah.
And so now we'll move on to competitive cheer, where they will go to the NAIA National Championships. That will start next Friday, so March 11th and also the 12th. I'm guessing it will be, I guess you perform twice. I will guess that's why it's 2 days.
Yeah.
So I don't even know who's going to there.
Yeah, neither do I.
I'll be rooting along in memory of.
Yeah, I'll be here in Marion, Indiana, but best of luck.
Best of luck to them, Brooke and Aiden.
Yeah,
we'll be
especially
wishing you guys luck. Hopefully they get nothing but the best for them to happen.
Yep.
Down there, they got 3rd last year. They're going to try to improve on it again this year. And so now we'll move on to women's tennis. So women's tennis on Monday, they're going to play Southeastern University in Lakeland, Florida. On Tuesday, they're going to play the number 2 ranked Kaiser University in West Palm Beach, Florida. And then on Wednesday, they're going to play number 18 Ave Maria University in Ave Maria, Florida. And then on Thursday, March 10th, they're going to go to Georgia Gwinnett Invite, like the guys. And so they're going to play, obviously, Invite that's going to take up Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So they're also having an action-packed spring break, so they're almost halfway through their schedule so far out of those 13 days, and then they'll have a pretty long break after that. And then for women's swimming, they're rounding out their season right now. So today, March 4th, a Friday, is day 3 of the National Swimming and Diving Championships, and then tomorrow, Saturday, will be their final day. We've had some winners so far for the team. Not like winners, like they didn't win. Like
medal placers,
but they've had medal placers. They've also had a group of 4 ladies in a relay that got All-American status as well.
Yeah.
So congratulations to all those people, all those ladies out there down there in Columbus, Georgia, swimming your arms off. It was a lot of stuff's coming up, Owen.
Yeah, and especially with us not doing something for 2 weeks.
Well, and it is funny how like they plan and do a lot of stuff over spring break.
Oh yeah, it's funny because it's like, besides last year for football, I had never done something as I mean I did it in high school for baseball, but when I was here my freshman year and then this year, we kind of do nothing during spring break.
What do you? Welcome to the life of a normal student, Owen.
Yeah, I guess. Well, hey, literally the first Monday we get back, we're like we have 1 install and then we start spring practice Tuesday.
Ooh.
So hey, a week though, but it's a break, so it's technically not a real life student.
Yeah, not a real life student.
I get to experience that after the season though, so that's kind of fun.
Yeah, the second the season ends, you kind of have like
it's weird.
A few weeks where you're just like, oh.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. I don't want to ever do that again. I want to make the playoffs. So
I need to make the playoffs.
We need to make the playoffs. So
come on, drive, make the playoff. Football.
Not.
All
Coach
right.
Lang's our coach.
Sorry, Coach Langs. So that will round out episode 6 of Wildcat Week. I was gonna make another joke, and
you should stop. Yeah,
it fumbled really bad in my head. So I was like, I'm not gonna say it.
Oh, that's the worst.
So yeah, episode 6 done. Wow. And you know what? It also hit me today in class when our teacher was like, there's only 6. When you come back from spring break, there's 6 weeks left.
We're only going to be able to put out 12 episodes.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
There's only 6? And so that's spring semester flies by.
Yeah, it really does.
So
I'm ready to do this thing in the fall.
I am also ready to do this thing in the fall. I'm not ready for the long break, though, over the summer.
Neither am I,
But then again, what sports are going on?
I'm going to miss you.
Yeah, I'll miss you too.
Have a
Owen.
fun spring break, bud.
Yeah, it will be a fun spring break for me. I'll get to go home where it's potentially going to snow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that will not be fun. But for me and Owen here in Marion, Indiana, we're gonna take a week and a half break pretty much. So you won't see a video for a while from us, but stay safe out there. Go somewhere warm.
Everyone
unlike
drive
me,
safe. Drive
safe.
Yeah. I have a bunch of friends driving down to Florida, so drive safe.
Yeah, drive safe for those guys.
Shout
I'm
out to
gonna
my
go
family.
home. Shout out to Owen's family. Shout out to my family. You guys kept it real so far.
Yep.
Number one supporters from the first day.
100%. I know.
So yeah, all you guys have a great weekend. If you're a student, have a great spring break.
Peace.
We'll see you later.